Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. So this is going to be part 2. And I'm going to just kind of give you some practical examples of what we talked about in the last video, which is $1 plus 25,000 people. So I gave you a very small portion size because my initial population size, or my initial number that I started with this particular thing, was 100,000 people. Assuming that half of those 100,000 people are children, okay, and they are not gaining any kind of employment, okay? So the other 25,000 are mostly the parents in the household. So mother and father, or mother, but it's 25,000 people aggregated, all of them together, okay? I'm going to try and keep this video short because the last one went over a little bit, but you can probably look at that as an intro, okay? So if you take a larger portion size, just to show you, and let me pull my calculator up. There we go. All right, so just to show you, just to give you an idea of the portion size, let's say we take a larger portion size. I base this one of these things I base this on is I've been Muslim for 31 years. And when I first entered Islam in 1992, I used to look up a lot of statistics and things like this. And the statement has always been Islam is the fastest growing religion in America. It's the second largest religion in America. It's the fastest growing religion in America. And at that time, the population of Muslims was somewhere around 20, 21 million, maybe 22 million, depends on who's reporting it, okay? So in 30 years, I did a check on the Muslim population in America, 2 million, 22 million Muslims. That is insane. That's impossible. There's no way you're going to convince me that after 30 years' time, the exact same number of Muslims exist in America as it did 30 years ago. That's impossible. Just the population growth alone would render that false, okay? Of course, I can't prove that. I'm not a reporting agency, okay? And I don't have any way to show like the real statistics of what they're considering in these factors, but just using a bit of common sense. If 30 years ago, the population right now in America is somewhere around 333, 335 million people. It was not 330 million people 30 years ago. More like 315, 320 as a rough guesstimate, okay? Which means that your population is going to grow. You still have, for all of the problems that people have with immigration, you still have people coming and immigrating to this country, and they are not all Christian, they're not all atheists. A lot of them are of Islamic faith. So your population is increasing by way of natural births, naturalization, and people who are migrating to the country. That being said, I'm going to work with the figures they gave us just so I can show you how this can be done. So we're going to take a larger sample size. So I believe the last time I looked, which is a couple of days ago, Florida was reported as having 165,000 Muslims. The state of Florida, in all of Florida, only 165,000 people are Muslim. All right, skewed, biased, but we're going to work with it because I want to illustrate an example to you. So I take 165,000 Muslims, okay? Whatever your denomination is, if you identify as Muslim or if you identify your Islam as your religion, we're counting you in that whole bunch, okay? Then we're going to half that size, okay? So 165,000, I'm going to half that by 2. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. Give me a minute. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm figuring here. Share the screen, okay? And we're just going to pull up our calculator, as they say. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to take this figure and divide it by 2, okay? Assuming that half that population size of 165,000 is going to be, see if I can make this bigger, but you should be able to see the numbers. It's going to be children, okay? We can even go a little bit more conservative and take, say, maybe, let's say we'll take 15% of that, okay? And we'll account that for adults who are of working age, but they're not employed. So that leaves us with 70,000 people, 70,125 people. Here's where the strength in numbers comes. And this works in anything that you want to do. It is not specific to a race, a religion, an orientation, a color, a tribe, a country. If you literally did what I'm getting ready to show you, it works. You take those 70,125 people, and all of those people give $1. $70,125 every 2 weeks, assuming that the average person gets paid every 2 weeks. Okay. For those who get paid every month, he'll pay the equivalent of 2 weeks worth. So that'll be $2 every month. So if I take that number and I double it, $70,125 every 2 weeks, double that to a month, it's $140,250 in 1 month. In 1 month. Now, what can we do with $140,250? Let's do that times 12 months, which is a calendar year. We have $1.683 million as a budget. As a budget. Okay. We go out and we start buying land. We want land, we want an area that we can build on. So buying a parcel of land is one thing, but buying a parcel of land that you can, because what we want is we want the land, then we want the land that's adjacent to it, and the land that's adjacent to that, and the land that's adjacent to that. And so we have enough acreage that we can really span out and actually try to build our own city. Some of us are young enough, we got the time. This is a $1 automatic bank draft that you make with your bank into an established business legal account under an LLC or an S corporation or whatever other business legal entity. It's not religious, it's business, because this is what we're coming together for. We can do both. We're going to run the business with God-fearing principles, but the venture itself is business. So we have a business account. We have a legal account. We have an actual tax attorney or an attorney that specializes in financial law, corporate law, tax structures, all of that. Okay. We have real estate lawyers who can tell you, okay, these are the ramifications behind what you want to do, and so forth and so on and so on. So that's $1,683,000 a year from $1. From $1. We buy the land. After we buy the land, we start to build a grocery store for ourselves. But here are some other avenues. When you talk about acquiring land, right? You can acquire land, but it doesn't stop there. So we don't have to create something where we have to actually go outside the city to go live in. We can also buy existing structures within the cities that we live in, because we're trying to make our neighborhoods better. And sometimes people don't want to just move. There are people who lived in neighborhoods their whole life. They're not really interested in moving. We can still benefit each other. There are apartment complexes that are either abandoned, burned down. They're just a blight on the city, and the city wants to get them occupied. And it's too complicated to tear it down. So you'll find this is why a lot of these abandoned structures, they just stay up. Okay. And then that creates a whole kind of different, group of people, squatters and dope heads and all this other stuff, because the place is empty. So it's kind of open for everybody. But once you can find those places, there are programs within cities that you can acquire these properties. There are distressed properties. There are properties that are short sale. The bank has taken possession and they just want to sell the property for the money that they're owed. There are sheriff sales, where you're basically, the place is being just auctioned literally on the courthouse steps. Okay. And of course, there will be people there, companies there, real estate companies, because they know the game too. So that's how they acquire property and so forth. So it's an open auction. Okay. But at $1,683,000, we've got enough to compete. We can compete. And we're looking specifically for structures within our neighborhoods. And this is going to take some time. None of this stuff is overnight. This is not some type of investment scheme where you're going to invest your money and get all this return. We're talking about building something for our families, building something for our babies. Our babies have a lot of potential right now. They're smart. They're smart. They're flying through school with flying colors, acing all the exams, honor roll, valedictorian, salutatorian. They're on their way. Okay, when they finish high school, what's left for them? When they finish university, they followed the program. They studied hard, they got good grades, they went through college, they got the degree. Where do we go from here now? Now we have to try to insert ourselves a round peg in a square hole in a society that doesn't want us there, in a society that tolerates us, and they can say, oh, well, I don't care what color you are, blah, 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 blah. You could be green and purple. But the fact is, we're not green and purple. We are who we are. And we know that your existence with us is largely, and I'm not saying this for everybody, but largely it's a tolerant system. It's too risky for you to say what you really feel and for you to show what you really feel. It's bad for business. It doesn't make you look good. It can even cost you your career. So you have to give the air that everything is okay between us when you know it's not right, when you know it's not true, and we know it's not true. Okay, let's eliminate that. Let's just eliminate that. We don't have to pretend anymore. We don't have to code switch anymore. We can just start a process in which we start to acquire land to build the types of institutions and devices and structures that we are competing with you to be a part of. Now we don't need to be a part of that. And it really doesn't take as long as you might think. It really doesn't. If you've got 72,000 people that are willing to do this thing, you could literally, well, you couldn't literally, but you could build structures in a fraction of the time. I was going to say overnight. You can't build a grocery store and apartment complex overnight, but you can acquire land. You can knock that land down. You can make it arable. You can make it habitable. You can make it where it can sustain crops and grow things. You can build on top of it. You can put in infrastructures, piping, sewage systems, irrigation systems, all kind of other things that you need to sustain life on a piece of land. You can build your residential situation. You can build your businesses. And all of us, 70,000 people, I'm just talking about in the state of Florida, as this example, 70,000 people. Within that group, there are engineers, professional engineers. There are professional educators. There are professional people in the nursing and in the medical industry, doctors. There are people in the industry of law that know the law. I'm sure within that 70,000, there's going to be a few judges in there too. There are people who have experience in law enforcement and security, so they know how to secure and protect your areas, from undesirables and things of this nature that want to creep inside your neighborhood. In other words, everything that you need for a sustainable system, for a sustainable community environment, within that 70,000, you got those people. You got those people. So in that vein, as you're starting to build, you also trickle that back into your own neighborhoods. You buy up those properties. You are making sure that you're trying to put some type of good complexion in your neighborhood. Okay. Yes, it's been abandoned. It's going to take some work, but we have a working budget. This budget is a working budget. This is not a one-time contribution. So you're going to set up your neighborhoods. You're going to set up your bank account, rather, where you're going to set up a $1 bank draft to this business account in the name of whatever. There are legal structures that are in place. So there will be financial reports. There are people who are held responsible for the way that the money is being moved. Of course, if there's a situation where tax needs to be paid, we're going to have that set up as well. So if we stay within every legal confine of the law and it's above board and everybody is 100% everyone's 100% on board and everybody trusts everything and everybody that's associated with that system. There's financial reports that are given. There is access to, what is happening with the money, what's being invested on, projects that are going on, estimated dates of completion, how much is the money going to cost, and things of this nature. So while those things are all being in place, and this method that we're doing, we don't need credit. This is something that has been crippling, particularly people of color, but specifically the Black community ever since its invention. See, before they wouldn't give us any credit because they didn't want us in their areas. But once they started to realize that we are a source of commerce and that we bring money with us, then you had a few companies who wanted to give the appearance they were forward thinkers. There's no place for racism in our society, and everybody should be treated fairly, and nobody should be discriminated against because of the color of their skin, their race, and all that. That's just double talk for, hey, these guys got money too. Let's get some of that money. Let's get some of that Black money. Let's get some of that African-American money, whatever you want to call it. Let's get some of that money because that's another market. And it is no secret, and it is statistically proven that African Americans are the largest consumers amongst every demographic in every state in the country. We're the largest consumer. We buy, 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 buy. We don't manufacture, we spend. We don't create, we spend. We don't make, we spend, spend, spend. So every time that somebody comes out with a new trinket or something bright and shiny, we're the first ones to go buy, even though we know we can't afford it, through this avenue or this vehicle that they call credit. Okay, this system of this $1 for every person, you don't need that now. I don't need to do a credit check if I want to buy an existing grocery store, gut it out, and then put the products that I want in the store. Mix the alcohol, mix the cigarettes, and mix the swine. Wholesome food that is available for everybody, that's not going to poison the community because you're trying to make $1. It's a co-op kind of situation. It's going to be owned and funded by our group. So we have complete control over what goes in that store. And nobody can come from outside and say, well, hey, if you sold, this brandy, this Jim Beam brandy, and if you sold Johnny Walker whiskey, and if you sold Seagram's Gin, plus the Marlboros and the Newports and the Salems and all that stuff, you could, increase your profit margin by 35, 40, 50%. We don't need that. We don't need that. Best believe 70,000 out of that 70,000 something odd people, at least a third of them are going to actually move into those areas now because their money is involved in it. The apartments is built. The apartments are built. They are tech out. They are furnished. They are nice. They're energy efficient. They are, all wired up for internet access and smart homes and all this, everything that you could think from a modern apartment with all the bells and whistles. And on top of that, it's affordable because the idea at this stage isn't to make a profit. It's to get the structure built. You will eventually make a profit because at some point, the money that you're generating, the money that comes into those commodities in terms of rent, in terms of rent per unit, in terms of the grocery stores, how much money you're spending, eventually you're going to recoup your cost. So you're going to be in a profit situation eventually. It might take a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we talk about generational. If you're talking about moving something in a generational capacity, building something for a generation to come, 5, 10 years is a drop in the bucket. 5 or 10 years is a drop in the bucket. And then slowly, people start moving into those neighborhoods. Now you've got 3 or 4 apartment complexes, multifamily homes, 16 units per home. You've got you have spots, different spots dotting single family homes. People want their own house. They want this and that. Okay, this is a vehicle you're going to buy. Okay, yes, we're selling it. It's not you're going to live here for free, right? Everything we have to keep generating income. The more we do that, the more we're able to put that income back in our society for ourselves. I don't need alderman so-and-so, councilman so-and-so, representative so-and-so, mayor so-and-so. We don't need those people with these fake promises that we don't see them except election year. We don't need that now. We can sustain ourselves. If you want to be the mayor of umpty squat city, go, you do your thing. We don't really need that here. We're self-sustained. We are self-sustained. If we need money, we have a fund that is generating every single week. Every 2 weeks, it's generating and generating and generating and generating, and it doesn't stop. This is trillions that we will potentially have in our budget because at some point, we're going to stop building everything that we need because we got it. We have everything now. We've got the financial institutions. They're up and running, and they are compliant. But they don't have the evils that are associated, high interest stuff and investing in things that are illegal or immoral. We don't have that avenue anymore. Okay. Yes, the bank will be invested in things that's going to make the bank money, but it's going to be legal things. It's going to be moral things. It's not going to be things of questionable morality that it's going to invest in. So the banks in our neighborhoods that we're going to create for our children don't invest in casinos. They don't invest in, illegal kind of operations. They're not going to have any kind of, illegal component to what they're investing. Why? How are we going to know that? Because everything is open to the stakeholders. So we see everything. We're the ones that actually built the bank. So there's no cloak and dagger going on. There's no cloak and dagger. You want a loan? We're going to make a percentage off the loan because people will think, okay, well, how can you make money if you're not charging any interest. There's a percentage. You can make a percentage on anything. There's nothing wrong with profit. If I lend you $100,000, what's the rate of the profit? My profit rate is going to be, say, 8%, which means that from that 100,000, right? I'm going to make 8,000. 8% of 100,000 is 8,000. So your total loan, the total amount that you're into me is going to be 100,000, 8,000. I think that's how you say it. 108,000. That's it. That's it. There's no finance charge. There's no paperwork fee. There's no points. There's no prime rate. There's no sliding and adjustable rates. There's none of that. My profit margin is going to be $8,000. I'm making $8,000 off the $100,000 that I'm loaning you. We're going to split your payment up. We're going to divide 108,000 by whatever the months that you say you can handle or what we're willing to accept. 60 months, 120 months. We're going to divide that, and that's what you pay every single month. That is all you pay. I'll show you here. So let's say you borrow 108,000. Okay. So let's say you want to do 108,000 is a lot of money. So let's play around that. So we're going to divide that by 120 months, which is 10 years. That means you owe us $900 a month. Is that too much? Okay, well, what's too long? Because we need to get our investment back as a bank and make sure that you don't default because the payment was too long. So let's move that up to, we take 108,000 and then we divide that by, say, so 180 months, which is 15 years. So 180 months. Okay, cool. You can do that. That's $600. That's doable. So you owe me $600 for the next 15 years. And of course, you can double that payment if you want. You can pay more. And the beautiful part about this, that's all principal. That's not interest. That's all principal. So there's no P&I payment. There's no principal and interest payment. So if you've been on this loan paying $600, you've been paying $600 for the last 5 years. So 5 times 12 months, that's going to be 60 months. So if you've been paying that, you should be able to go to the bank and see that your balance is that you've paid is $36,000 minus the 108,000. You've got a balance of $72,000 that you owe. You can see that now because 100% of your payment went toward the principal. Okay. Now inside of that is our profit margin, but it's all together. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Just make sure you stay constant on your payments. Okay. Vehicles like this we can incorporate for ourselves, and they're not going to kill us and enslave us. We, it's something that's doable, you guys. It is certainly something that's doable. If you go back into your own city, let's say that we've established this area and we've got our institutions up, and you take this loan because you want to buy a distressed property. Well, let's not even go that far. Let's say you buy what we call a turnkey business. So these are some of the ways that we can use this money. You buy a turnkey business. There are many places that are available, businesses that are available. When we mean by turnkey, we mean everything is there. The fixtures are there, the chairs, the piping, the all of the furniture that's used in that business, the electrical fixtures, the ceiling fans. There's already an account that's been created. It was an existing business. It was a business that was running. So it either isn't running or it's running, but the owner wants to sell the business. It's a turnkey, meaning all you need is the keys and open the door. There are probably employees already there. There's services for your municipalities already set up. So there's already an account that the business has set up with the trash and refuse and sewage service. There's already an electric account that's there for the electricity. If you use natural gas in the place, that's already there. You don't have to reopen any accounts. Just transfer the name, the ownership of that account to your name. Okay, this is now it's going to be this person instead of this person on the business. If you are a company that, if the business is a company that gets its supplies from merchandise and like that, the account's already set up. So you already have direct access to the people that they get their supplies from. You don't have to go out and search for new suppliers or distributors and so forth, with the same schedule that they deliver on and everything. There are already employees that are working there. You decide whether you want to keep them or not. The light fixtures are already there. The fans, the TVs, the tables, the chairs, the coolers, the refrigerators, whatever it is, it's there. The pizza ovens, if it's a pizza place. And the moniker or the sign, if you leave that name there, so that's recognition now. People in the neighborhood have seen that place for years now. So you don't have to fight to now get your name established, a new pizza place or a new burger joint or whatever it is. People already know that spot's been there. So you got the traffic. It may not be a lot of traffic, but you can fix it with advertising and things of that nature. I've seen places like this go for as little as $39,000. And that's paid up, one-time payment, no interest, no mortgage, no monthly payments, nothing. It's 39,000, everything's included. It's 39,000, everything's included. And in most cases, the owners of those places will stay with you for about 2 weeks just to show you like how they keep the books, who you contact for the distributors. This is what you say. This is what the business does. You know, the books are available also. Now, whether the books are accurate or not is another issue, but you've got something that they can show you. This is what we normally take in. This is our expenses. This is our revenue. And this is what we're left with for profit. This is how much we spend on payroll, right? And you can do that with any business. I saw a business in Georgia. And there's a picture of it. It's like a little off the road, but it was a gas station. It was a small gas station. It had 2 pumps and a lot of land. So what that tells me is that I can put more pumps on that property, right? There's a big trash can there, like a big dumpster, which means there's sewage there. The place is open, okay? Inside the place, there's all of your typical convenience store stuff, but then they had like some gambling machines and of course the alcohol and the cigarettes. So if I take that over, I'm gonna eliminate the alcohol and the cigarettes and all that stuff, and I'll replace that with something else. But everything else is available. This business, including the land that was on it, $40,000. $40,000. Okay. People buy businesses like this, turnkey business, all the time. People buy websites with the same thing. People buy business with the same thing. If I got a budget of $70,000, or let's say, what was that? What was our thing? It was 165,000. Let me pull up the history here. It was 70,000. Yeah. So yeah, I got a budget of $140,000. I just bought a property for 40,000. Some of them, they go 50, 60, 70, 80,000, sometimes 100,000. Typically, I've seen that the more the property is going for, the more successful it is. But I mean, if I bought a property for $125,000, I still got 140,000 in my budget, right? I take that 140 minus the 125, I got just under 15 grand still left over. So I use that for repairs. I use that for, any kind of renovations I need. But 2 weeks later, I'm going to get a fresh infusion of cash at another $70,125. So I can make that what I want it to be. I can spend my money on my advertising. I can have a grand opening to bring some life into the business, and I can keep doing that with different things. We own that now. We own that. You find you an apartment builder. You find a sale. Maybe you find a property that's worth 250,000, or let's say the low end. Let's say the property was worth the market value of the property was $150,000. Let's even say that the owners actually paid off the property. It's theirs, but they couldn't keep up with the property taxes. The house fell into disrepair. They got too old. Kids moved out. And so they fell behind on the taxes. They're going to lose the house. So there's a couple of ways you can approach that. You can either pay or buy the house for the amount of the taxes that are owed, because there's nothing else on the property. The mortgage is paid. The house is paid. They own the house, but they're losing it because of the taxes. So you can either buy the property for the amount that's owed on the taxes, or you can buy the property and then charge them rent on the property. Okay, this is yours now, but now we're going to create a renting situation. So you don't have to leave your home. You can stay here, but you got to pay rent now. And of course, it's going to be a really very affordable rent that can be maintained. Okay, so there's lots of ways you can do this if you have the working capital. Okay, and of course, there's a spreadsheet, there's a paper trail for every single one of these transactions that you do. For every single one of them, nothing is done under the radar. Okay, we pay taxes on all that stuff that needs to be paid on, and we don't get into anything risky, shady, questionable, or doubtful. We're trying to build something for our children and for the generations that's going to come after us, for however many, honestly, generations we got left, because we in end times here. Let's be real. We're in end times. But we don't know when that time is going to end. So we need some type of vehicle, some kind of systems that have been set up so that our children got something to go to. Okay. Living in the cities is too dangerous. We don't want to live too far outside the city, because it presents a problem as well. but we got to have something for ourselves. That's my whole point. We have to have something for ourselves. Let me turn off this sharing. How do I stop the screen share? I'm going to close that. Okay, so stop the share. All right, so this is what we're looking at, you guys, but this can be done. And I gave you a very small sample size. How about New York, where the last reported statistic was like 1.4 million Muslims? Take that number and divide that by half. That's 700,000 people. That's 700,000 people, man, giving $1 every 2 weeks. That's $1.4 million a month. A month. There is so much power in the act of doing things together. You have no idea. You have no idea. And that is the way that the whole creation runs. Species that survive, they run in packs. You've never seen a wolf hunting individually by himself. You may see him, but he's never alone. His crew is somewhere, his pack is somewhere behind, right? Or in a strategic area, because that's how they hunt. You will not see a lion hunting alone by itself. Now, he's there as a placeholder. He's there to drive the prey toward a certain direction where they can all converge on it together. Hyenas, same way. Birds, same way. Dogs, regular domestic dogs, if they are wild dogs outside, they hunt in packs. Every creation has a way that it survives when it has a herd, pack-like system of cooperation. I was going to say herd mentality, but not a herd mentality. But it's a system of cooperation. We all work together so everybody can survive. Watch the lions. When they all work together to kill the prey, they all eat. Of course, we're not animals. Animals will eat until they engorge themselves. When they just too full to take another bite, okay, then that's it. He's done. Okay. Study the animals that hunt by themselves. Cheetahs, leopards, panthers, all of them endangered. Tigers even, all of them endangered because they're solo hunters. Efficient, but solo, not enough numbers. And they don't operate in herds, they operate by themselves. Okay, operating together, moving together. Now listen, I'm going to end with this because some people are going to watch this video and they're going to say, okay, but who gets the money? Nobody gets the money. There's no one person that gets the money. The money goes to the account. It's a community generational account. I don't know what you would call it. I don't know what the structure, the legal structure that you would title it as, but it's a generational fund that is going to be used in active time. It's not an investment fund. It's a building fund. It's building places of worship. It's building grocery stores. It's building residential areas. It's building financial institutions. It's building educational institutions. It's building parks and recreation. It's building so that we don't have to rely constantly, year after year, decade after decade after decade, of people who do not have our best interests at heart. I am a firm believer, and I am a really firm believer that once you the problem that we have with so-called politicians and community leaders is that once we started paying them to do the job, that's when it went south. That's when it went south. People were true in the past. They were true public servants. Okay, they got a stipend because this is a job that they're going to be involved in for most of their waking days. So you give them a stipend to live on. But we have a system now where you got people in politics making $200,000 a year as a minimum salary. They make more than the president. And they can write themselves raises with no approval needed. Now, how do we have a person like that? How do we think a person like that is going to have our best interests at heart? Because see, that's the 200,000 plus his annual cost of living bonus, right? That's normally between 3 to 5% for most government workers. Okay, then he's going to write himself his own raise, and then he has his constituents, the people who want him to do things for them. Once they put the money right and make his acquisition of political office possible. Okay, we did something for you. You got to do something for us now. We've been waiting to get this pipeline done. We want to get this land done. We want to do this. We want to do this. And now you are beholden to them. You say you're the representative of North Carolina. You say you're the representative of New York. You say you are the councilman of, Florida, or whatever you are. You say you're the alderman of Chicago, but you got these other people who made it possible for you to get in. And then when we need something, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. When we need it, we're not your constituents. The general people aren't your constituents. It's ABC organization, XYZ company, XYZ foundation, and all these other things they like to call themselves. So when you started paying these people, then the incentive was not to better your community, to better your environment, to better your lands that you lived in, to better your towns. The incentive became, how can I get this money and keep getting this money? And keep getting this money. Because if they were really working for us, the money that they spent will go back into the neighborhoods. Every one of them. I'm not talking about one guy who says, okay, don't pay me anything for the 2 years, the 4 years I'm here. I'm talking about every single politician says, hey, I'm going to, because I want to live in this area, all right? I'm going to put 60% of my salary, 50% of my salary back into the neighborhood that I say that I'm in control of. People don't do that. They're not working with our best interests at heart. So when we need something, we hear them at election time. I promise we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Then they come in, they roll their sleeves up, like they're working class people. They think they're trying to pass themselves off like us, the wolf in sheep's clothing. Be amongst the sheep, and the sheep won't know if you're cleverly disguised as another sheep. They won't know that the wolf is sitting there amongst them. No, we don't need that kind of stuff. So the best way to get out from under that isn't necessarily to elect better politicians. There's no point in that. You're just going to exacerbate a wound that's already open. Is you put the Band-Aid on and you rip it back off. Put it back on, rip it back off. Put it on, rip it off. Put it on perpetually. And you're wondering why you're not getting better, why there's no progress. Why are you still seeing the same sores, the same pain, the same pus, the same blood coming out? Because you're not healing. Temporary Band-Aid, rip it off. No, still bad. Put it back on. Rip it off. No, still bad. No, you got to get away from that system. The so-called Nation of Islam had the right idea, but the process was wrong. People who develop these different types of groups, separatist groups or whatever, they got the right idea, but the principles are wrong. The principles, in my opinion, the principles are wrong. We're not talking about creating a separatist nation. We're not talking about doing something where we secede from the state or from the nation or from the Republic of the United States. We're not talking about that. We're just trying to build something so our kids can live there, so we can have a decent, nice, clean, wholesome environment as much as possible, because nothing is perfect. We're not talking about utopia. We're not talking about getting away from the system. We're not talking about, thumbing our nose up at the system and later for you guys and, we don't care about you guys. We're over here. No, we are just as much a part of the system. We just don't want to live where you live in. We're tired of the fire engines running down the block. We're tired of the gunshots. We're tired of the people playing the block. We're tired of the people shooting up. We're tired of the crackheads. We're tired of, getting robbed in the middle of the night, man. You can't even go to the doggone grocery store, man, to get a pack of eggs or some bread without fearing for your life. We're tired of, sitting in our front window and we got a bullet coming through the front because stupid got a gun and he don't know how to shoot. So when he trying to impress all his friends and he's shooting up the whole area, he can't shoot. So your little 2-year-old gets hit in the head. We're tired of that. We're tired of that. We're tired of seeing the news every day, somebody shot, killed. I don't even watch the news anymore. It is morbidly depressing. It's morbidly depressing. Who wants to watch that? Everything you see, it's going to be somebody got killed, somebody got shot, there was a fire, there was a this, there was a that. How many people? I mean, Chicago, man, a couple of hundred people every weekend. A couple of hundred people every weekend. The only time it actually stopped, to everyone's surprise, was during the lockdown. And even then it was happening, but just in very, very smaller numbers, maybe two-digit numbers. So this is how we're going to wrap the video up. We need to, it is time. Now, I know that from this video, 5 people are going to watch this, like it, and maybe one of those 5 people will actually comment and say something. But I'm going to keep doing it. I'll keep doing as much as I'm able, because I do believe if you keep talking about something and you keep encouraging the people to do something, eventually it'll start to take root. If you hear it enough times, you're eventually going to say, you know what? Okay, that sounds like a good idea. How do we get this started? Who's doing it already? Who's with you right now, Abu Idris? I said, well, it's just me right now with my $1. I'm ready. Then somebody else is going to hit me up. Hey, I saw a video you did 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Last year, I just stumbled on your video. I don't even be on Facebook. I just happened to see a video, And I thought this was a good idea. Are you guys still doing that? Yeah, there's about 6 of us right now after a year. But those 6 will soon turn into 12, will soon turn into 20, will soon turn into 40. And it may be 5 years, we only got 100 people. That's cool. That's okay. We have 100 people more than we did when we first started. And then once it starts to take shape, once the actual money starts to get saved up, and once you start to see that bank account actually start to now grow, then it becomes serious now. So wait a minute, this ain't just $100. We've been at this for 3 years. We got what, $100 times 12, or $200. $200 times 12 is $2,400. We got like $7,200. We got close to $7,500, and we're still doing this thing. And it's been 3 years. Okay, all right. Let me see what y'all talking about. This is how it's done. People are slow to start something. They talk a good game. And social media has made it even easier for them to talk a good game. But the real people are saying, I heard what you said. I want to get down. What can we do? Not, that's a good idea because we as people need to do it. We as Black people need, we as Muslims, we know what we need to do now. Now, when we going to start doing it? When we going to start doing it? We talked it. Now we're trying to walk it now. When you get in this thing, this is not no, well, you know, when I'm gonna get my money back, where the money at? Where the money at? I just want to know where the money at. How long I gotta wait till I get the money? This ain't about money, man. You live in this state, right? You live in Philadelphia, you live in Chicago, you live in Florida, you live in Michigan, you live in Maine, you live in Massachusetts, you live in Colorado, you live in Denver, you live in California, you live in San Jose, you live in New Mexico, you live in South Dakota, you live in Fargo. Okay, then this is where you at. This is where you at. What do you mean? What money? What are you talking about? Your kids gotta go somewhere to live. Everybody needs somewhere to live. People getting their 60s, 70s, 80 years old. You tired of ducking bullets, man. You tired of ducking bullets. You tired of turning your TV on and all you hear is the shooting. You come home. Some of us, we live in war zones, man. We live in real war zones. You come home from work and it's chalk tape on the ground, man. It's black and white police tape or black and yellow police tape. You just getting home from work. You going to the doggone 7-Eleven, to the Wawa, wherever you're from, and we'll never see you again. Police took you somewhere, beat you up, arrest you with false charges. Somebody accused you of rape. You going to the store to buy a back with a pack of Newports, and nobody never saw you again. There are people who are just tired of that. So we have a way that we can change that. The only question is when we're going to get off of our laurels, and I'm being nice with that term, when we're going to get off our laurels and get it done. It's $1. It is super, ultra, mind-bendingly, idiotically sustainable. I refuse to believe that after all that work you put in, whether you work as a grocery bagger or a stocker, or you did grades for a living and on night shift, or you look at 7-Eleven or McDonald's, or you work in a bank, or you have some other kind of menial form. If you got a fruit stand and you sell pineapples and watermelons every week, if you sell socks, wallahi, by Allah, I swear by Allah, I know a brother who left from Virginia, from the state of Virginia, and moved to Egypt selling socks out of his trunk, the trunk of his car, for $1 a pair. I am not lying to you. $1 a pair. They were irregular socks, so some socks are a little bit longer than others. You know, people don't care. They just want a pair of socks, right? He sold irregular socks at $1 a pair out the trunk of his car. Tell me, no matter what walk of life you come from, you don't have $1. It's ultra sustainable. Everybody has $1. I don't care how much bills you got. I don't care how far behind you are on your rent or anything else. How can I make that claim? Because before you went to that job that you absolutely hate, that you were just sweeping the floors in an office building, before you did that, you went to the store and you bought a cup of coffee. That's how I know you got $1. There's a vending machine in the call center. You're a telemarketer and you sell accidental death and dismemberment insurance, you know, for Discover Card, right? In between that break, you went and bought a Snickers out of the machine. So I know you got $1. You bought a Coca-Cola out the machine. I know you got $1. Lord forbid, you went and bought a cheap knockoff Gucci from the Korean store in your neighborhood. I know you got $1. I know you got $1. We ain't gonna be talking about the fake eyelashes and the fake hair and all that other stuff you're doing. You got $1. You got $1. Get you a bank account, set up an automatic bank draft to go to the account that will be established by those 70,000 people, like-minded people. I'm not talking about people who say they down and they say they understand, and then 6 months later, oh, I want to know where the money at. I want to know where the money at. When we gonna get our money back? What do you mean your money back? This is an investment in your future. If you didn't know that going in, shame on you. Because we already made that very clear what direction we're heading in. This is for serious people. This is for serious people. If you think you're going to come in here and flim flam and make a couple of cash, go make a couple of dollars, and then scoot out, this is not that kind of program. We're looking for really serious people. Me, my friend, his friend, my other friend, my cousin, his cousin, his cousin. We all got kids. We family people, man. We family men. We need somewhere for our kids to go. I need to be able to walk out my front door. My wife needs to be able to walk out her front door at 11 o'clock because she forgot to get beans from the grocery store and not worry about getting raped. I said rape. I didn't say sexually assaulted. It's what it is. She don't have to worry about getting raped. She don't have to worry about nobody snatching her kid and kidnapping her kid for sex trafficking. Come on, man. No, people are tired of that stuff. So we got serious-minded people who say, you know what? Really, enough is enough. I don't care how long it takes, as long as I can see some direction and we've got things established. When land starts to get built, when it starts to get acquired, when the contractors come, they start knocking the trees down, they start clearing out the area. When the construction crews and the contractors come in, they're starting to dig the trenches for the pipe to put piping in. Now it's real. It's real now. You got your surveyors coming out and your architects coming out, and we letting you know every quarter. Okay, we got XYZ and Associates architectural firm. They're going to build us a 16-unit apartment complex. We have the contractors that we're going to buy all of the concrete from. This is how much it's going to cost. A granular accounting of everything. Nothing is too small for us to tell you about. The wages, the salaries of the workers, how many people we're going to have on a crew, what's the hours, if it's going to be a 24-hour operation until it gets built, the forecast of when it's going to be completed by, how many people are going to put in there, is the apartment going to be furnished, what kind of furniture, who are we getting it from. Absolute 100% transparency. You need to see that it's real and it's actually working. Once the first structure gets built, then everybody say, you know what, we doing this. It's not in our head anymore. It's not an idea. We're not pipe dreaming no more. This land has been cleared. All of those trenches lead into the sewage system in the city. This is miles and miles and miles of piping, eco-friendly piping, not lead-based stuff. We don't need to contaminate our own area. They're all running into this structure. We got a pumping station here. We got a pumping station. We got a treatment center. We got a treatment center station for the water that's being pumped from the city. This is real now, because I can put structures around that property now. How much did it cost you? It cost us about 2.3 million and some change. How do you know that? Because every 3 months we get a report. Either we can come together, however you want to be notified, because this is how the process of stakeholders, one of the things that we establish is communication and how you want to be communicated with. Email, phone, meetings, in-person meetings, Zoom calls, video calls, conference calls, however it is. But you're going to be in the loop. And you're always in the loop. How do you know about this stuff? There's so many people doing this stuff. How do you know every piece, every facet? Because we have regular meetings so everybody knows where all the money is going. That grocery store will be done in another 2 years. How can you say that? Something like that takes at least 4 or 5 years to build, not the way we do it. We got 24-hour construction. We've created jobs with this. We got bricklayers, we got concrete masons, we got electricians, certified, journeyman, qualified electricians. We got people who are pipe welders, pipe fixers, pipe layers, everything you could think of. We have guys who know how to run carpentry. We have carpentry people. We have people who can install windows, carpeting, plumbing. We got people who know how to, put roofing structures up, ceiling, and all that industrial stuff that needs to be done. Get it passed up to code, brand new. We've got suppliers, because we shop in these stores every day. Look on the back of the package, you see the supplier. It's just a matter of getting in contact with the supplier and finding out what the MOQ is, the minimum order quantity. Okay, we need 600 of this, we need 10 cases of this, 20 cases of that, 50 cases of that. and we buying in bulk. You worrying about halal meat? We're gonna build a slaughterhouse because next to that land, next to that slaughterhouse, we already acquired the land where we can raise cattle on that land. We've got sufficient sewage and piping and all that so we can get rid of all that bio waste. Okay, the systems are set up. When people start seeing, they say, hey, well, you guys making the apartment? Yeah, we got two 16-unit apartment buildings. Really? I mean, like, are any of them open? Yeah, we got about 4 openings in each building. How much is the rent? We're going to stay below the market. So as I close out, as an example, the market rent is, say, for that area, let's say $1,000. So what's the rent? The rent is going to be either at or below market. We need it affordable. We're not trying to turn a profit. The profit's going to come. If you keep people in those spaces and you're renting out those spaces and you have commerce coming into those spaces, you will eventually, over time, make your money back. It might take you 5 years. It might take you 10 years, depending on the thing that you're using. Supermarkets are not very profitable. Restaurants aren't very profitable. They do turn a profit. So after a while, you're going to recoup your cost back. Then you're going to have a larger profit margin because why? We don't have to make a lease payment. We don't have to make a mortgage payment every month. We don't have to make a payment where we're leasing the space or leasing the land. We own the land and everything on it, including the building that sits on it. So we're just going to pay our municipal things, our lights, electric, sewage, water, our taxes, and all that other stuff. After that, payroll, and then our supplies, and any incidentals for maintenance and stuff like that. The rest is profit. People start seeing that. Then one family comes in, another family comes in. This family, they got plans to move in. And slowly your area is populated and populated and populated. So what happens now? We have now supply and demand. There's going to be a demand for more residential property. So we're going to start building more homes. Some people want single family homes. We'll start that process. Not a whole lot, okay, because we want to get as many people as we can, but we don't want to use more land than what we have available. So there will be some restrictions on how much acreage we're going to use to build, or how much square footage we're going to use to build these single family homes, and how many are going to be in them, and all these other things. Those are particulars that we can hash out as we start to get into that realm. But people will see now there's some life that's there now. I got a place to live, so there's residential devices there. There are food devices where I can go and I can buy my basic staples and a little bit more. I've got some kind of financial institution there. Maybe it has its own ATM. Okay. I've got all of the things that I need to sustain life in that area, where I really don't even have to go outside that area unless I just want to. And you're free to do whatever you want. It's your stuff. It's your own person. You go wherever you want to go. Okay. But we're going to create something so that if it gets too hot where you are, you have a place of refuge where you can go. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be utopia. I'm not going to say we're not going to have any knuckleheads or unsavory people or people who want to be criminals, but we're going to have our own security system where we police ourselves, and we're going to deal with that. And I'm not talking about beating nobody up, right? We're just going to remove those undesirables out of our area. And the good thing is that we come from that. So we know what it looks like. You're not going to be able to slip by for too long. You'll get in with a nice face and a smile and all that, good talk, because you think you're running game. But we know who you are. And we'll eventually sniff you out, and then you're going to have to go. Keep it clean. Keep it something that our children can go to. Your children, man, they're proud of that. See that building right there? See that department store right there? See that mall right there? Yeah, my grandfather helped build that mall. What? Yeah. And that's my apartment. You live right there? Yeah. You live right there. You live here. Yeah, I live right here. What? That grocery store. See that last name on the grocery store? That's our grocery store. What? Something your children can be proud of. Something that they can build off of. When we leave this earth, because it's going to be soon, one of the things that we will not have to worry about is the peace of mind of our children. So that's it. I'm going to end the video here. This is going to be part 2. It went a little longer than what I thought, but it needed to be said. So maybe in the next video, I'll give some other examples of things that you can do, maybe some screenshots or whatever, some screen share, so you can see that this stuff is actually doable. If you have any ideas of things like that in the comments, leave me a comment down the bottom, or you can DM me, or whatever the case may be, and just let me know. Let's get this thing started. It's going to be slow, but slow is better than no. Slow movement is not the same as no movement. So it'll start slow and it'll gradually build momentum, inshallah. That's it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.